talking HOKA Rincons after 100 miles. Okay, I am talking about the HOKA Rincons after 100 miles. For those of you who don't know, my name is Brian Seppi. I'm documenting my learning, my thinking, my development, all the way up into a Pittsburgh Marathon in May. Having said that, if you're anything like me, you are here because you want to hear more about the HOKA Rincon. I went on a complete search, vegged a lot of content before I actually stepped in to purchasing the HOKA Rincons. I watched videos, initial thoughts about them, and I did one of those too. And then I watched videos after 100 miles, and I think those videos really helped. So I just wanted to put one out there. It's not going to be as detailed in the specs of the shoe itself, but I'll just give you my overall thoughts, my anecdotal sort of evidence that I have for why I'm saying what I'm saying, pros, cons, and then I'll give you should you purchase it. Just to bring you up to speed, I just started running in 2018. So being in my mid 40s, finding the time to run as an everyday runner, non-elite kind of athlete, you have to make some decisions based on cost, which I will say the HOKA Rincon right up front. The cost was $115. These shoes are at the right price point for an everyday trainer, number one. Number two, I think when I get into the shoe itself, I needed something that was going to support my development as a runner, but also give me the everyday use that I need out of it. And I'll give you my thoughts at the end here about whether or not you should purchase this or consider at least purchasing it. The first thing that I'll talk through is just sort of the general sole part after 100 miles. I'm pretty impressed with how this shoe actually has held up. All things considered. There is a slight difference in the two, my left and my right, at the top of the toe, that portion of the sole. I'm definitely wearing a little bit more thin on my left side, right here, than I am on my right side. Okay, that's one thought. But I really thought that the actual wear and tear of this shoe was going to happen sort of more in this mid to back end portion of the sole, and it really has held up quite nicely after 100 miles, and you can see the evidence there, right? So I'm actually very impressed with the amount of cushion height that you actually have in this shoe, the way that it sort of forces you up onto your toes. I really appreciate the drop here, but again, just a little bit surprised at how well that has worn on the left side, and again, that could be something that I've got to pay a little bit more attention to my form, and I think it's wearing on the right as well, just not as noticeably. But again, if you look at the heel, not that much, in pretty good shape there. So very impressed with the bottom of that. The next thing is, if you look at the shoe, we just talk about the toe box as a whole. So you sort of have this mesh upper, if you will. The toe box is held up pretty well. It's very roomy in the toe box. Now for me, moving from the Brooks line to the HOKA line, I'm impressed with that. I needed that. I think it has helped having a roomier toe box for me. I was watching to see where my toes would poke out, if anything at all, into the corners here, and they really haven't stressed too much in those areas. So I feel like the shoe is definitely holding up there. So those are my big pros. The bottom, the soles are holding up, and the toe box is definitely roomier. Where I have a little bit of an issue with the HOKA Rincon is in sort of the cushion area at the upper, this top portion here, is just not as supportive as I thought it would be. I don't know that it's really impacted much, but you can see that there's a big difference between how much cushion you actually have up here across the top of this, and it feels a little, I don't know, loose at times, I suppose. And what it's causing, and I just noticed this, I don't know if I can get that in there, but you'll see in the back portion of the shoe here, I'm getting a little bit of a wear and tear in that heel. Now, again, this could just be me. either A, not properly sort of tying my shoes or being equipped and ready to run, or B, it could just be, one foot is just slightly bigger or slightly smaller than the other, and it's causing some of that wear and tear in the back heel portion. But what it's making me realize after 100 is, if that's what's happening after 100 miles, where am I going to be after, say, 150 miles, And to be quite honest with you, this happened in a pair of Sauconys that I had, the Saucony Rides. It started to wear here, and then it causes all sorts of damage, and the shoes are basically rendered useless once this wears out, because now you're getting into some abrasions on your heel, and it just causes quite a bit of friction back there. So those are my two sort of negatives, is the amount of support that you have up here, or cons, and then back in the heel. But those feel very minor overall. I think the shoe has held up quite nicely. It's given me a lot of cushion. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Am I going to purchase another pair of HOKA Rincons? I think I am. I think that's going to be my daily trainer going forward for the rest of this marathon prep. And then I'm going to make a decision. I get some really great tips on this channel from some folks that have been running much longer than I have. And their suggestion is to work in a different shoe, probably a different brand, and work that into my routines. Whether I vary that on the longer runs or I use that intermittently throughout the week. But the idea of getting into other daily trainers that can support my running volume, number one, leading up to it, but two, just to find out where I fall with what I'm liking and what results I'm getting out of it. So I think that's going to be the game plan going forward. If you watch this video for a little bit more information about the HOKA Rincons, I would highly suggest them. I think for the price point, the amount of cushion that you're getting from this, the support that you're getting, the room in the toe box, I think it's a great shoe, and I definitely would recommend it to anybody for the price point going forward. I'm hoping to get another pair soon. So hopefully this review helps you. Curious to hear about your thoughts, your journey, your training. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about the HOKA Rincons or what other shoes you would recommend. And thanks so much for watching.